Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're interested in learning how to draft a pattern for a train for a gown using the circle skirt method, stay tuned. So since it's prom season, normally when I'm making mermaid skirts, I just normally trace the shape out of the skirt onto the fabric, but I'm trying to figure out ways that I could save time this year. So I decided that I'm actually going to just develop a circle skirt pattern just so I can have it and when I need to use it for gowns that are getting a train with the circle skirt. So the measurements I'm going to be using, I'm going to be from off my size 8 dress form. That's just going to always be my base template, and from there I can always adjust it how I need it. I wrote down the measurements that I'm going to be using. So for my hip measurement, I'm going to use a standard measurement, body measurement of 38. But since I will be using a spandex fabric and it has a lot of stretch to it, I need to subtract out some measurements because we wanted some inches because we wanted to make sure that it's form fitting. So depending on the fabric is how much ease I subtract out. But for a spandex, I'm going to subtract about 4 inches from the body measurement of 38. So that's going to give me a measurement of 34. And for the knee measurement, I like to subtract 4 inches from the overall hip measurement in order to make sure it gives me that curve at the bottom. So that's going to give me a measurement of 34. Okay, yeah, 34 minus 4 will give me a knee measurement of 30. And I like to have a 1-inch seam allowance just in case I need to do any adjusting during a fitting. So for each side seam, I'm going to have 1 inch. So that's 4 side seams. So that's going to give me 4 inches that I need to add to the 30 knee measurement. So that's going to give me 34. So once I divide 34 divided by 6.28, which is the calculation to get a full circle, I come with approximately 5.5. So I'm going to be using this corner of this paper to start marking my 5.5 inches. So here we go. 5.5. Actually, let me do this in a marker. Here we go. So here's my 5.5 here. And I'm making sure to keep my ruler. This is my point that I'm always going to stay on. And from there, I'm just going to keep swinging out my 5.5. And I'm just going to connect it. So I want my overall measurement from the knee to the floor to be 32 inches. So I want to measure down. This is going to be the center front of my fabric, the center front of my pattern, and this is going to be the side seam. So down the center front, I want my measurement to be 32. So I like to start in the corner from up at the top. So I add the 5.5 that we calculated here plus 32 to get the total length that I need. So in order to do that, we take 32 plus 5.5 is going to give me a 37.5. So again, I go from this corner here and mark a 37.5. There. And I just keep going around, marking my 37.5. And once I get all the way around, I just connect the dots. And I probably should have did this when I calculated the pattern, but I'm just going to add in about a 1/2 inch for the seam allowance. Alright, so we're not finished yet. We have the bottom, our hem. The next step, we have to add the seam allowance for our knee seam. This is the seam where the circle, the train is actually going to attach to the knee of the skirt. So we need to make sure that we add a seam allowance there, because if we do not, then our skirt is going to be a 1/2 inch too short. So always remember that important step, to add in the seam allowance for where it connects back up to the knee of the skirt. Alright, so I just want to mark my pattern to note that this is the center front here. So this part is going to be cut on a fold. So I'm just going to write here, cut on fold. And this is my skirt front. So I'm going to put skirt front and put with the knee, so I don't forget that knee measurement. I'm going to put it was 5.5 inches. 5.5 inches. All right. So now we're done the front piece. Next step is just to cut it all out. Oh, I also want to make sure that I mark the length so I can remember. So we did 32-inch length with a 1/2 inch hem allowance, because I don't want to forget that, and I don't want to have to keep remeasuring the pattern every time I use it. So that way, if I need to adjust it, I know that that's what the measurement is. So we're going to use the front pattern to cut out the back pattern piece. The only difference with the back piece from the front piece is I want it longer. So for my back, I want the train to be about 55 inches long as possible. So in order to get that train length, I have to have a piece of fabric that's about 60 inches wide. So I'm going to use this pattern piece. I'm going to lay it out. Again, this is the fold of my fabric here, because this piece is also going to be cut on the fold. So we're going to lay this piece out here. And this side is going to be my side seam. So the side seam of the front and the side seam of the back has to match up. So we're going to just keep that the same. And that's going to be my front. So, alright. So I like to use the piece that was previously cut off the top as a reference point for where I'm going to begin my measurement from. And that's just my own personal preference, because I like to keep my measurements going at that center point. That's where I like to bring my measurements from. So again, I want my skirt to be about 55 inches. So up here we had 5.5. So let's do, we're going to do 60 inches. 60 inches is going to give me a 55-inch train. So from here, that corner part, that center point again, we're going to measure down to 60 inches. So what we're going to do, we're going to mark 60 inches, and then since I want my train really wide, I'm going to come around as much as possible, but I need to end up back here at this point in order to meet the side seam. So that's what we're going to do now to trace out the back. So we're going to keep it at 60. So now I have the front and then the back piece with the extended train. So next, cut it all out. So this is a picture of a prom dress that I made a couple years ago using this method. So here for the second prom dress I made with the long train in the front. You can use the same process, but all you would need to do is cut the back pattern piece twice, and you wouldn't use the front pattern piece at all. Just make sure to extend the side seam to be the same length as the center back. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.